Hey everyone, so I thought I'd make a quick video with some best practices to really help with your textures on your models inside of Spatial. So a couple of things. First of all, texture-wise, Spatial's a bit finicky and weird. So to make things work the best and most optimally as possible, I highly recommend that if you have an object that needs different parts of it to look different, like again, if you're making a model of something like this old CD case, right? Where like the front has this image and the back has this image, the sides look like this, etc. Making one texture file with all of those pieces in there. So again, opening Photoshop, again, in this instance, you could just take a picture of it, and then putting like the front on one side, the back on one side, the sides, and all the different components on one texture sheet, and saving that out as one texture file. Okay, so I would absolutely do that. I would create one only material and one only texture and apply it. And then of course you'd need to use, when we did UBW mapping, you know that we could pull this polygon off and map this picture straight to it, the back, the sides, etc. So that's how we would want to approach something more complicated. So if you have a model that has different pictures, like different pieces or different colors, again, if you're modeling this and this, they're different, etc. A book, whatever. You know, again, making one texture sheet with all those pieces on it and applying to it will help a lot. Trying to use multiple materials inside of Spatial may or may not work out right. If you do it this way, it'll work 100% of the time, right? So we're trying to make it easy. While Spatial is built on Unity, without going in through Unity and actually like uploading your level and creating it in Unity and uploading it that way, we're kind of limited. So if we do a little bit of planning on the front, we can save some time on the back. So if you're finding that your textures aren't showing up at all, take a look and see if maybe that could be the culprit. Maybe you're using more than one texture or more than one external image per object, okay? That could be one thing. The other thing, you should probably export each object separate. So again, if you have a room, instead of exporting the room with all the stuff in it as one file, export just the room with its image and texture, then export the sofa, the lamp, the different pieces, all with their own textures. So again, one single texture map per object, and one object at a time, and that'll help you a lot. What's really cool if you do it that way too is you can actually assemble the objects in Spatial. So you can bring in like your chair or your table or whatever and put it where you want in the room. Okay. Now, if you're having trouble with sizing, you might need to reset the X form, and so I'll show you guys that too. But materials usually tend to be the number one thing people have trouble with. The other thing is the material itself. So the default material type in 3ds Max changed recently to OpenPBR, which is great because it actually makes it more compatible with more game engines like Unity and Unreal. But Spatial's weird, and because it's a Web3 like product, right? Like it's all run inside of a web browser basically. That it uses GLTF format or GLB, which is basically like a zip folder with the GLTF stuff inside of it. For all of its models. So if we're uploading it directly, that's what we're exporting from Max, and I did a video on that already, and that's what we would save it as. But using a GLTF material can sometimes fix those issues as well. And there should be a video in this week that goes through that, but I want to record another one just kind of showing everybody those kind of best practices if you're finding those issues. Let's go ahead and take a look. So here we are inside of Max. So the first thing I'll show you is, let's say we're building our area, our room. Okay, and so I'll just build a big box. Looks great. Now, a lot of times we're not really worried about size and scaling. And if you're set up to using generic units, which is probably the case, and again, if you go over to customize and go to, where is it? Units, unit setup, you can play with your unit setup. So this one right now is set to US standard decimal inches. It's probably mostly set up for generic units on your system, and it can be hard to figure out what that means, right? So setting the unit setup can be tricky. You can actually change the units in the system setup right here. So right now 1 unit equals 1 inch to different setups. Do you need to do all that? Probably not, right? But when you bring in your model, you can see if it's way too big or way too small. And if you create everything kind of relational, you know how to kind of address that. So again, I kind of recommend bringing in the model first and just placing it and see how it looks. So you can do that too. When you create your room, you're probably going to need to edit it and scale it if you create it as an environment. So depending on how you set it up too, that could be the case. But just a heads up, if you're wondering like, well, what even size is this? Now, most of the time in game development, we either have a specific unit size that we're working with, or we can always just kind of fix it later. And again, if I'm doing something like scaling this, I definitely am going to need to. So you'll probably heard me say don't use the scale tool a lot. And it's a good practice. But here I'm using it on purpose, even though I said not to, because it's a tool, so you're probably going to use it. However, I've said many times we're working with math, even if we're not doing the math. So this model is seeing the original model and scaling it up mathematically. We can't have that because when we export it, it's going to go back to its original size. So like if you bring in, let's say I go to File Merge and I bring in the lamp, or I bring in the sofa and I scale it to match my room, if I just scale it to match, it's going to export the wrong size. Now you can fix the scaling in Spatial, so there's that. But to fix that, to make everything kind of the same, you can reset the X form, which all you do is come over here to the little wrench and click Reset X form and click Reset Selected, and this now zeroes out the scale. So now this actually zeroes out everything, rotation, position, and scale. So it zeroes everything out as if you made it this size. And now if I convert this over to like an edit poly or something, this object is that size. Like as if I made it that size. It will not, if I export or import it into different engines or something, it won't matter. It'll keep that size, the relation it is. For the materials, let me show you that real quick, and this won't take but a minute. I'm going to hit M to open this up, and you see I'm working in 26. You can see Open PBR, but I'm going to change the material type from Open PBR by clicking this little button, and this will work the same if you're working in 2024 or any other version of Max, recent versions of Max, I should say. GLTF material wasn't there a couple of, too many versions back, but GLTF material, hit OK, and it'll switch the material type. This material is the same kind of material they're using in Spatial, and it's going to be the closest one-to-one look. If you're not using this, physical materials, which used to be the default, sometimes will upload okay in Spatial if you're doing the texture mapping and stuff correctly. Okay? But here, so if I do my base color, I'm going to pick my texture map, and I'm going to do bitmap. Now I'm going to show you guys, this is one that I created real quick, and I mean super quick, in Google Gemini Nano Banana a minute ago. Not those guys, that's another project I'm working on. This one right here. You can see it even says Gemini generated image, blah, 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 blah. But here it is. Let me open this guy. And here I can actually view the image. So here it is. This is a weird image size, so for sure. But you can see, again, you can even see the little Google Gemini button here. I basically told it to create a trim sheet, which is a type of texture that game developers use a lot with certain stuff on it. Now this thing is a little bit too much. Like, I don't know if I need this much variation in my floor or wall textures and stuff. It's kind of nice because it would look a little like less obviously tiling. Like even here it's mirrored, but then the blue part doesn't match perfectly. So I got a lot to play with. In that regard, I'm kind of happy with it. And it did a nice job with how it looks. The image generating tools are pretty insane these days. There are a few inconsistencies with like these, these turn dials or whatever they are, the pressure gauge things. But overall, I mean, this still looks nicer than, I could do in the time it did it for sure. Again, obviously that one's tiled. Again, seems like a worthless use of pixels, right? I could put something else here, but again, I could critique this all day long. Honestly, if I were going to really do that, I would probably move this over and I'd replace all that second half over there with something else new and original. I still could. If I don't map anything to this area, I could replace this later. So you can keep that in mind too if you're building something like this. If you don't need all of this repetitive nature, and again, your AI tool or whatever you're using may not even do all that, but I could always replace that with something later as long as I'm not mapping to. And what I mean by that is this. So I'm going to apply this here. Again, this is one texture map and one material right here that I'm applying this whole thing. And that doesn't mean I can't do complex things though. I absolutely can. We've done mapping. We've played around with it a bit. Here, this is too simple of a box for me probably to get my mapping right unless I change the mapping on the whole thing. And I don't know if I want to do that, right? Like, I like how some of it looks. So for this, I could probably fix the walls easy enough, but the top is going to be a little tricky. So let's just grab the walls right now. And, you know, again, I could just do unwrap, or I could grab all the walls and unwrap. Maybe I'll just pick the walls. So I'm just grab all the walls, make sure I got them all, yep, and go to unwrap. And I don't even really need to do a map first because it's a box. It's already got a box mapping. I can pick my new texture here, and here they all are. Now, they're all on top of each other, which is going to almost work for what I want, but not exactly because this isn't a full box square. It's more of a rectangle. So if I were to grab this, and I want to move, actually not that one, Control Z, best tool in the entire program, right? And I'm going to just move this up to be just this part. This is my wall texture I want to be on there. Sorry, it's a little, I kind of zoomed in too much. A little hard to see with it being highlighted red, but there you go. If I feel like it's being pulled too much on the sides, and I kind of do, I have this texture and it's got lots of hard edges, which makes it really easy to change. I'm going to detach edge verge just in case it's attached to the other one. I don't know if it is, but you know, let's just make sure. So I'm going to pull this in a couple of pieces. Maybe that looks good. Let's grab this side and pull it maybe to here so it got a little less symmetry on it. I don't know. No, you know, actually looking at that, I don't want it there. Maybe I'll pull that one down and I'll pull this one in. That makes more sense, yes. All right. You can see I can be nitpicky even on something that I'm just kind of doing for an example. But here we go. So now I've got my wall textures looking pretty good how I want it. I can do the same thing with the roof, but the roof, this is gonna be trickier because I don't have like, I have like this piece, but I would want maybe the whole roof to have it, or what texture, I don't even know which texture I want to do for the roof really. So I might need to cut some pieces in. What's nice about working with super low polygon model like this is I can do that. I can grab all of these edges and all of these edges, which is pretty much almost all the edges. And then I'm going to come down here to connect. Oh, okay, one at a time. That's not what I want. Undo, right? I'll grab all these and hit connect. Let's do one at a time. And maybe I'll do, okay, something about that looks okay, 4, and hit okay. And then I'll grab them all from this direction and click connect. Again, 4 is probably going to be what I want. Hit okay. Now I don't have edged faces. Let me go and turn it on so you can see what we did here. And now, again, I can grab my selection tool. Now I could also draw a selection, which would be a lot easier right from the top view. Again, I don't want to do that with the move tool, but I have the selection tool set, and now I grab the top and the bottom. So now when I go to unwrap, UV, you know what? Because we have such a low polygon model, I bet I could just skip that or do one more step in there. I'll do UVW map, and then I'm gonna do, make sure, yeah, Z's good, and we're gonna do, let's see, face, I think. Yes. It's a little bit funky, so we'll see. Again, it kind of looks like it flips some of them. It might still be okay. We'll try it. Yeah, we'll do face. Let's try face and see what we get. Let me go to my gizmo. You can actually do this in the viewer, which is kind of a fun trick. With the gizmo here, should be able to anyway. Okay, not fighting me a bit. Let me just go ahead and go to my unwrap. We'll do it the proper way. No worries. And then we'll open our editor. Now remember, this time we did face, so all of these pieces is the whole thing. So that's kind of exactly what we want. But we don't want the whole thing. We only want, like, you know, what we want the roof texture to be, which I think I'm going to pick this one here and just see what we get. See how it looks anyway. It's not bad. I think because my thing isn't quite square, it feels a little squished. At this point, because it's my space and I can make it whatever I want, I'm probably just going to fiddle with that a little. Like maybe I'll grab it and, I don't know, squish it just a little. I don't want to change the walls or anything. I think they look fine, but that looks okay. All right, so you can see though, now I have this box, which is kind of complicated looking, but all using one texture, right? So again, we can keep making edits. So like, let's say maybe I want to go, it doesn't line up with the texture there, so I don't love that. It probably still look fine, but let's say I grab this guy and we come down to extrude, and I'll extrude it out. Didn't extrude out very far, but that's okay. The texture's gonna be messed up anyway, so I'm gonna need to fix it. So there we go. Now we're pulling out a hallway, right? Like I want to do a hallway. Sci-fi's always have hallways. I don't know why. Let's grab these. We're gonna have to fix the mapping for that. So again, we're gonna do UV map. We could try something like box. Might be all right. Close anyway. Face. It's kind of weird, right? I think face is gonna be better. Let's see if we can do this. Let's see. Let me rotate on your face. Okay, fine. All right. Feels like it doesn't like those, but that's all right. Again, we go to unwrap. We fix it in the unwrap. If you're working with a pretty simple model, again, it's pretty easy. So I'm gonna go rotate, and again, I turned on snapping there, so that way it'll snap properly, and then we'll again come over here. These are kind of our wall texture. And if it's snapping it too much, like you can see it's kind of not quite getting the edge, I can turn that off so I can line it up. I just want it to match like kind of that rivet line. We already have that natural border, so we might as well use it. All right, so there we go. Again, we convert this to edit poly just to flatten that, and here we have our hallway. It's looking pretty good. The roof doesn't look right. That's okay. You know, sometimes games, you know, do different things. So for this, let's do this. I'm gonna come over here and click. I'm gonna try this out. I'm gonna click preserve UVW. Sometimes this works, sometimes it does not work at all, and it's a giant failure. Let's see. And let's inset this a little bit. Okay, it looks like maybe today it's gonna work, but I'm gonna need my menu because my mouse doesn't let me get far enough down. So I'm just gonna inset this a bit. It's looking pretty good, and hit okay. Now, I clicked the preserve UVW, so it kept it there, which is what I want, kind of, but I don't want it to mess up all of this stuff, but I'm gonna go ahead and go to my unwrap modifier one more time and open our editor. And because we only have this one polygon, and I didn't do the other side, if I wanted to, I could have done both. So I'm kind of doing a little asymmetry here, but I'm just gonna go and pick this great window texture I've got, right? And I don't know how many windows will look right in here. Maybe we'll put one more in there. So here now we've got a little hallway with some windows in it. Looks pretty good. If we don't like the transition, see it's kind of a bit of a sharp edge, we could, again, grab that polygon and maybe we extrude it in a bit or out, right? If I don't do a whole lot, it won't look that bad. You know, if I do a whole lot, it'll start looking really bad. If we just do a little bit, it'll give enough of that edge-like depth from pulling those pixels to look a little bit more like it's on purpose. See? And again, I'm not sure if I should have gone in or out with the, because again, we're going to be playing this game on the inside of this, so we're kind of modeling inside out, but there you go. Anyway, the point I'm trying to show you though is that you can make a really complicated, really detailed model with one texture map, just using pieces of the texture. And again, there's so much of this texture. If I grab the entire model, for example, and I do unwrap, you can kind of see it. Again, I don't want that selected. Oh, looks like I need to hurry. The class is starting. All right, but you can see here, notice how much empty space I've got. So I could put anything else I want in that empty space if I don't end up using it later, or I could keep using the space. Again, I could grab another spot and cut a line in and put some lights down or something, or just make one light a separate model using the same material, same texture, and attach it. And you can do that too. Like I could add even more geometry to this. Right now, everything's attached already and like part of one edge, but like I could, again, I don't need to keep that. Actually model like a box, apply that same material, the same object, and attach it, and add those other details to keep adding more details to this. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful, and I can't wait to see what you guys are making.